a means of increasing public safety. One of these groups is dogsbite.org. On their website, the first statement reads, "Dogs bite, some dogs don't let go." They provide many statistics and studies and back up their support of the breed-specific legislation with high fatality rates caused by pit bulls, Rotties, Presa Canarios, and their mixes. They also argue that dangerous dog laws that don't specifically identify a breed are known as hindsight laws, in which they punish the owner after an attack has taken place and are therefore ineffective. Many legislators and citizens supporting BSL are in favor of these laws because of statistics presented in this matter, and they fear that pit bull-type dogs pose a greater danger to society than other breeds. Some also suggest that a breed ban may decrease euthanasia rates and is therefore more humane. Opponents of the BSL conflict include huge groups such as the ASPCA, the AVMA, HSUS, and the CDC. The CDC dog bite statistics are often quoted by those in support of BSL. Fortunately, the CDC responded with a statement that indicated the breeds they specified were no more likely or less likely to bite or attack. In fact, they stated, many practical alternatives to breed-specific policies exist and hold promise for preventing dog bites. Opponents also argue that there's no evidence that banning a specific breed has decreased dog bite incidents in those municipalities. In fact, these laws often lead to a false sense of security and decreased regulation by animal control. Some examples include, in 2008, the Dutch repealed their 15-year ban due to failure and are now looking for behavior-based regulations instead of breed-based. Also, in the UK, where an aggressive breed ban exists, dog bite incidents have actually increased over a 10-year period from 1997 to 2007. In the US, according to the Colorado Health Information Database on Injury Hospitalization Statistics from 1995 to 2006, Denver, a BSL city in Colorado, had a bite rate of 4.1 per 100,000 people compared to Boulder, a non-BSL city, with a bite rate of 1.4 per 100,000 citizens. Enforcing discriminatory legislation is also expensive. According to the ASPCA, a city in Maryland spends more than $250,000 annually to enforce its ban on pit bulls. Additionally, as we've learned throughout this course, proper identification of pit bulls is incredibly difficult, and many professionals can't properly ID these dogs. In setting out to ban all pit bull or mixed breed dogs, other breeds are at risk, including boxers and American bulldogs, among others. Good dogs and responsible owners are unfortunately harmed by this legislation. Many responsible owners can't afford to fight the costly legal battles necessary to keep their dogs, and often must relinquish their pets or move away with only a small amount of time.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about BSL specifically in Miami-Dade County. So in 1989, Miami-Dade County passed an ordinance banning all pit bull type dogs, but pit bulls that were already in Miami-Dade in 1989 were grandfathered in, meaning that owners that had a pit bull were required to register their dog and provide proof of liability insurance and proof of financial responsibility and follow strict confinement laws, as well as pay a fine to keep their pit bull, but they weren't required to euthanize it in 1989. Miami's goal of banning pit bulls was to make the people of Miami-Dade safer by eliminating a breed perceived to cause the majority of dog bites, but this perception was based largely on the characteristics of, or what they considered the characteristics of the pit bull, and these characteristics include that the pit bulls have locking jaws, that pit bulls have a stronger bite, that pit bulls turn on their owners, and that pit bulls attack without warning, all of which are indeed myths and are not true and are largely propagated by the media. So currently, owners with pit bulls are ordered to either leave the county or euthanize their dog and pay a $500 fine. So these are the ordinances pertaining specifically to BSL in Miami-Dade. The first one is identification of a pit bull, and according to their law, a pit bull must substantially conform to the standards established by the American Kennel Club for American Staffordshire Terriers or Staffordshire Bull Terriers, or substantially conform to the standards established by the United Kennel Club for American Pit Bull Terriers. And the people that are qualified to determine if a dog conforms to these standards are veterinarians, zoologists, animal behaviorists, and animal control officers. The second one is registration of pit bulls. And like I mentioned before, that law was put in place for the dogs, the pit bulls that were in Miami-Dade in 1989, but because it's been a while since 1989, none of those dogs are alive anymore, so that law doesn't really pertain to the pit bulls that are in Miami-Dade currently. The confinement of pit bulls, same thing, it was for the pit bulls in Miami-Dade of 1989. So there shouldn't be any pit bulls in Miami-Dade currently, lawfully. The next one is no pit bulls may be sold, purchased, or obtained in Miami-Dade. And failure to abide by this law results in the issuance of a civil violation notice and humane destruction of the pit bull dog. And then the last one is that pit bull signs must be placed in veterinary offices. And if you actually read the fine print under the law, it's more than veterinary offices. It's also kennels, commercial breeders, commercial animal establishments, pet shops, and dog grooming businesses. And essentially what this sign says is that both pure and mixed breed pit bull dogs are classified as dangerous. It has been illegal to acquire a new pit bull dog since January 1st, 1990. So the outcome of breed-specific legislation in Miami-Dade, the first problem they face is they have to be able to identify a pit bull, and like mentioned before, it's easier said than done. Currently they have a chart that they use in animal criminal control that lists 15 characteristics of the pit bull, and an animal control officer will check off whether a dog conforms or does not conform to this breed characteristic. If a dog has 3 or more characteristics that conform to the pit bull-like standards, it's considered a pit bull. And also, as mentioned previously, the cost of enforcement is high, and it doesn't necessarily protect the people of Miami-Dade from dog bites. Furthermore, there's no evidence that there's actually been a decrease in the number of dog bites in Miami-Dade. Nationwide, there has been a decrease just because of better, more responsible dog owners in general. And between 1971 and 2007, New York saw a 90% reduction, Baltimore saw a 91% reduction, but Miami-Dade only saw an 80% reduction in dog bites. So it's been less than some of the other major cities in the United States. And then I think it's also important to point out that breed-specific legislation, just because a pit bull comes into a shelter in Miami-Dade, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will 100% be euthanized, because they do allow adoptions of pit bulls in Miami to people that live in other counties and rescue groups from other counties. So if you can prove that you have residents in a different county, they will adopt out a pit bull to you. And then I think it's also important to note that currently there are a low number of dogs deemed to conform to pit bull standards coming into the shelter. So essentially, about 800 a year are coming into Miami-Dade shelter and being called a pit bull, which is a number significantly less than a lot of other shelters within the state of Florida.